Those of you who know my videos well will recognize this shot from a series I shot in 2012, Land Rover Discovery 4, and that is of course a scene on Baboons Pass in Lesotho. And if I look back at it now, even now, of all the trails I've done where the driving has been extremely technical and where I was combining it with a vehicle review, this one stands out as being one of the greatest. And what a brilliant vehicle it was on that trail. The story behind it is interesting, and the reason why I'm telling you this now, that those videos have been on YouTube for quite a long time. Some others shot with this vehicle have not been on YouTube at all, and I'm about to release them. Now, soon after this, about 3 or 4 months after Baboons Pass in Lesotho, I went to wonderful Zimbabwe, and again enjoyed the Land Rover immensely. But the story behind the acquisition of the Discovery is interesting. I was doing pre-planning for 4-wheel drive season 3, and I received a phone call from Land Rover South Africa. Now, my relationship with Land Rover at the time was, I actually didn't know what it was. I found that dealing with Land Rover South Africa extremely difficult because they were always walking around with their noses in the air. They're too busy for everybody else, you know. And so I just kind of gave up on them, you know. I'd never get anything out of them. And that was as a result of me giving the Discovery 2 a very bad write-up because of its traction control, which just dug great big holes in the earth before it gave you traction, and was actually very bad for the environment, contrary to Land Rover's slogan, you know, tread lightly. You couldn't tread lightly with a new Discovery 2. And of course, I was never blacklisted as far as they was concerned. As far as I was concerned, I was blacklisted. They wouldn't even answer emails. It really was ridiculous. Anyway, so I was working with other manufacturers, and I got a phone call from a new marketing chief, a guy called Roland Reed, at Land Rover South Africa, and he called me and says, "I believe you're looking for vehicles for your new TV series. Can we talk?" Wow, what a breath of fresh air! Somebody actually phoned me. So I said yes. We arranged a meeting in Johannesburg. And I remember it very clearly, sitting in the boardroom with all of these other people that I had dealt with for many years, who clearly did not like me, who did not want me to be there, and Roland Reed was a breath of fresh air. Now, he sat me down and he said, "We would like to give you a vehicle for a long-term test." Okay, Land Rover Discovery 4. Great. He said, "What would you do with it if I gave you one?" And I had the answer immediately, because I had this idea of taking a luxury SUV over an extremely difficult trail and see how good they really are. I would have support and everything, and I would be able to, you know, report on, you know, are they really good or are they just making a lot of noises? And all the marketing is saying that they're so good, but are they good really? I could see the looks on the faces of the people around me when I said I would take it onto Baboons Pass, and if it made it, I'd show it, and if it didn't make it, I'd show it. It's almost my very words. And I could almost see them looking at Roland saying, shaking their heads, no. They were basically saying, if it fails, if it breaks down, if it falls off, he will show it on TV. Do you really want that? And that was kind of the sign language, the body language coming out of these other people. And Roland said, "Okay." And then I said to him, "What will you do if the vehicle doesn't make it?" And he looked at me and he said, "I'll send my own team from the Land Rover experience and prove to you that it can be done." And I said, "You've got yourself a deal. Because if I can't get it across, then if somebody else can, then fantastic. We'll all learn something. It'll be a great experience." And I said to him, "Can I come and film it?" And he said, "Yes, please." So that was the deal. He said, "I'd like you to do one more thing. is go to the Land Rover Experience and get some training on the traction control. I said, absolutely fine, I'll do whatever you like. I did the training, learned absolutely nothing about the traction control at the training because they taught me the basics and I knew the basics. The interesting thing is on the trip, I learned the advanced side that I didn't know from the crew that were with me. Stuff about the Land Rover Discovery that I did not know. Nobody had ever told me about, and it saved the day. It made the difference between success and failure of that vehicle, this advanced stuff. You've got to watch the videos if you want to see what that advanced stuff, it's included in the videos. I mention that because soon afterwards I went to Zimbabwe with the same vehicle. This time I did not do anything extreme. I did with the vehicle what would be expected of it from the average user. Packing it up, going on a nice long trip through Africa, looking for wild animals, and it was a fantastic trip. So now, with a bit of background into the vehicle, this was after the Botswana epic. The vehicle had been sorted out from the little bit of damage that I did to it on the Botswana, the Lesotho trip, and I hope you enjoy the show. And this is the last scene at a place called Mana Pools, right up north on the Zambezi River. Enjoy the shows. This is Great Zimbabwe, and I think very appropriately bringing you the next series of four-wheel drive from the country that it gave its name to, Zimbabwe. This is the Great Zimbabwe Ruins. I'm sitting now on the precipice. I've been warned by a sign down there that says no visitors beyond this point, and for good reason. There's a 500-foot sheer drop behind me. And in fact, down there is the Queen's Palace. So the king spent his time up here with his wife or wives, and every now and again made merry down in the valley with his other wives or wife, and of course feasted up here and feasted down there. But now it's time for me to feast up here. This is a very beautiful place. So, why Zimbabwe? I haven't brought my family here because I'm not sure if it's safe, but I really want to know. So this trip, multiple reasons, the main of which is Zimbabwe palatable. Not more than a year and a half ago, a Coke would cost me $1 million. I like a cold Coke, so the idea of paying $1 million for a Coke wasn't that appealing. Political upheaval. I mean, you couldn't get fuel, the shelves in the shops were empty. It wasn't a place to visit. But that's all changed now because the US dollars come in. And literally, the country now has a new currency, and you can get stuff in the shops. You can get fuel at the gas stations. So that's question number one. Is it safe to take a family? Secondly, Discovery 4. I'm not going to only be driving the Discovery 4 in this series, but it's going to play a fairly large part because I want to find out if this luxury four-wheel drive is as good as they say it is. And I promise you I'm going to test it on the long road. And in fact, I have planned to drive it over Southern Africa's most difficult public road. It's designed for donkeys and very large four-wheel drive trucks. Can it do it? I have no idea. That's going to be interesting. Equipment tests. You know, if you think about technology, computers is the first one you think of, how fast they've grown and got bigger and bigger. Not actually that fast when compared to LED torches. Astonishing strides in such a short time. I'm going to show you some of that and compare the new with the old. There's a new box out that replaces the ubiquitous Wolfpack that we all use because it's the best thing available, but we all loathe because the clips break and the this and the... There's a new box replacing that. camp stoves, lots and lots of equipment. So from Zimbabwe, I welcome you to the show. I think it's fitting that I begin my trip here at Great Zimbabwe, the ancient monument that in 1980 gave its name to the country. Great Zimbabwe is a ruined city measuring 1,780 acres, which was once the home of as many as 18,000 people. But who built it? Well, we do know that it was constructed and inhabited between 1100 and 1400 AD. The ruins have caused great controversy, not only in the archaeological world, but in the political arena too. The government in power, when the country was Rhodesia, insisted that the archaeologists discover that Great Zimbabwe could not possibly have been built by black people. And then, when the country became Zimbabwe, the new government insisted that the truth be told, as long as it discovered that the ruins were in fact built by black people. Who cares about truth, right? So my first recommendation before coming to Great Zimbabwe, go to the gym. I sure wish I had. The fact is, its origins are unclear. Well, I think it's going to be worth it. Similar mortarless walls, of which Great Zimbabwe is the largest, are found scattered across Zimbabwe, Mozambique and Botswana. While there is even evidence that it was created by the Lemba, an ethnic group with Jewish or South Arabian descent, there is equally strong evidence that the Shona and Gokumeri people built it. I'm doing some photography. My own observation is that if sub-Saharan tribal people did build Great Zimbabwe, then why did they stop there? Why are there not examples all over the subcontinent? Very exciting for me, having not been here before. Read all about it, seen pictures. Very exciting. I love coming to new places. Particularly one that's actually so close to home. But what does it really matter? The place has an incredible sense of history about it. I mean, personally, I'm sick of the arguments of who built who. Well, our very, very first morning in Zimbabwe. We're in the campsite of Great Zimbabwe. It's actually a very, very nice campsite, very, very big. Not too many camping spots with fireplace grids, but just a really, really nice campsite. Lovely big trees. Amazingly enough, we actually found firewood last night around the campsite, which is pretty unusual for campsites in southern Africa. Today, this morning, as the sun comes up, we're going to go now and have a last look at the ruins before heading west towards Bulawayo and the last resting place of Cecil John Rhodes, which is of course in Matopos. And from Matopos, we then head north and more adventure. I'm travelling through Zimbabwe with an old friend and overland tour guide, Dave van Graan. Like me, Dave is in Zimbabwe to find out if it's safe, and also to plot out a route for his self-drive tour business.
Okay, here's this, and it was $40 for the entrance and the camping.
Okay. In the reception office, there's a map on the wall. Very convenient, because I can now show you where we're going. We're now at Masvingo and Great Zimbabwe. Tomorrow, we'll head northwest to Bulawayo and the Matopos, then northwards to Hwange and on to Victoria Falls. From there, we'll head east, remaining south of the Great Zambezi River, close to Chizariro National Park, and on to Lake Kariba. From Kariba town, we'll end our journey on the banks of the Zambezi at Mana Pools. Mana Pools, not shown on the map, is just east of Kariba. Zimbabwe is well known for its ethnic crafts, mainly because the quality is so high. So many of the African curios found in airport gift shops are in fact Zimbabwean. Personally, I rarely give them a second glance. But being here, I reckon it's worth looking out for something unusual. I really don't know what I'm looking for, but I'll know it when I see it. What are these made from?
It's copper one.
Copper. Oh, it's copper. Okay. I like this one. Yeah. This is a bit special. The fabric is thick and the dye is heavy and the colour's intense. It's probably not in the least bit washable, so instead of a tablecloth, it would make a wonderful wall hanging.
1, 2, 3. Thank you very much.
All right.
Yeah, God bless you.
Okay, we're in Masvingo, filling up with fuel, and guess what? It looks like the fuel price is lower than it is in South Africa. What's $137 converted to rand? It's about 7.5. That's. Thank you. So that is about 10 rand 50 a litre. It just shows you how we're being ripped off. Moan, bitch, moan, bitch, moan. Hey! I think you're full.
Yeah, it was breathing.
Was it breathing?
Yeah.
Big air bubble in tank. From Masvingo, we're heading west towards Zimbabwe's second biggest town, Bulawayo. Amazing thing has happened in Zimbabwe in that they have a new currency. Zimbabwean dollar is now worthless, so there are the regular currency that everybody now uses is US dollars. But as a result, after a while, the US dollar starts to look like this. Barely recognizable. Now I have to hand this over to this gentleman here. This is a toll road. $1. And this is where we get these things from. There are many such well-used banknotes, and they're all a bit sticky, a bit clammy, a bit sweaty. They're quite gross. Good morning. Morning, how are you? Good, thank you. Here you go.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Nice day. Thank you.
It's actually the first time ever that I've been pleased to see a toll gate. You see, that's the only way you can get rid of these $1 notes. Trouble is, if you don't have change, they give you a whole lot back. So this money is in circulation in this country, and the question is, well, the government doesn't print its own currency because it comes from the US, so these notes are just in circulation. And they are quite yuck. As we've been driving today, I've noticed sometimes on the left, sometimes on the right side of the road is this. This is a strip road. This road is probably, it's all broken up, 60, 70, 80 years old. Now, of course, very different from the road we're driving on. Now, driving on these, we might even come across some of these in our trip through Zimbabwe. I doubt it, but you never know. But the trick was that when you see a car coming the opposite direction, you put your right wheel on the left-hand track, and he does the same. The trouble is, big vehicles, the track doesn't get any wider. We'll see. This is the center of Bulawayo. I am exactly 1,150 miles from my hometown. My first impressions of Bulawayo is how clean it is. Another surprise, in addition to the lower petrol price. But now, it's time to find out if there is food in the shops and if it's expensive. No problem with food. Stores are full. In fact, the shops are not just packed tight with goods, but the prices are lower too. Looks like about 10% lower. For example, a Coke half litre in South Africa that would cost about 8 rand 50. Here, under $1. That's about R1 less.
Not only are there no shortages, the shelves are groaning under the weight of the stock.
So the food's there, but of course, what about money to buy it? What about a job?
Joe's freelance videos, video filming and editing. Maybe I should get a job since the food is cheaper here than in South Africa. The fuel is cheaper here. I'd bet you rents are cheaper here too.
As the day draws to a close, we enter the Matopos National Park, where we'll be spending the night at the local camping site. Did you enjoy that? Then please subscribe. If you'd like to take our relationship to the next level from just $1 a month to support my productions, or if you'd like to download everything I've ever made, go to forexoverland.com.